Welcome everyone to the MudRoom, our weekly free Uncommon Sense parenting class. How is everyone today? I hope you're having a fantastic end to your July. Those of you that are in Canada, I hope you've got some great plans for your Civic Long Weekend coming up. We're headed to our cottage for the weekend, and then my kids and I are headed back to my parents' place for a few weeks. We don't really know what's going on with school just yet, but I'm trying to slowly get them used to the idea after a year of having them home. It's going to be such a massive change, but I'm also really looking forward to having some separation between home life and work life again. I think this is a really good time though for us to talk about this topic that we have today because we're about halfway through summer and many parents are starting to look at activities to register their kids for in the fall. A few months ago, we talked about why kids often will hang back and refuse to participate in group activities and new experiences and what to do about that. You can totally go check that out. It's on the blog and on the podcast, and the video is on Facebook and YouTube. But that sparked a new question, which is, okay, but what about the kids who are totally happy and willing to participate until they just aren't anymore and they want to quit? When do we let them quit? When do we try and get them to push through? So before we get into it, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Allana Robinson. I'm a parenting coach for parents of toddlers, preschoolers, and kindergartners. I help you understand why your children are misbehaving and how to fix it without yelling, shaming, or timeouts. I am your host here on the MudRoom. I'm also the host of the Parenting Posse Facebook group, and I'm the creator of the Parentability program where I help you raise well-behaved kids of your own. If you're here, say hi, let me know how you're doing. This class is pre-recorded, but I'm around. I'm happy to answer your questions. And if you want to talk about it more, make sure you come and find us in the Parenting Posse so that we can do that. While you're here, you might as well like and subscribe so that you never miss another class. It also helps us reach more parents who need our support. All right, so let's start by talking about how to respond to the loss of love for an activity first. I know that there are a lot of parents who feel very strongly that their child won't be a quitter. And there are a lot of parents who really appreciated their own parents for making them stick with an activity, even when it lost its shine, because they feel that they wouldn't have achieved whatever it is that they feel that they achieved because of that activity if they hadn't stuck with it. And I get it. So let's put some parameters around what I'm speaking about here. I'm talking about children 2 to 6 years old, okay? I believe what I'm saying applies to all children, but I'm specifically speaking about children 2 to 6 years old right now. So first things first, how do we know if a child is done with an activity or it just got hard and the novelty is worn off now that it's actual work? Well, the first thing I recommend is just giving them a break. I think a lot of parents are terrified of the loss of momentum. Like, oh no, if they skip soccer this spring, then they'll never want to do soccer again, or they'll be so behind in soccer that they'll never be able to play again. Guys, we're talking about young kids here. If your child is a soccer protege and is destined to become the MVP of FIFA, then taking a break for a few weeks or a month at 5 or 6 is not going to change that. Most children who are just engaged in extracurricular sports or activities are only ever going to participate in those sports or activities as recreational activities. And if they're tiring of it, there is absolutely no benefit to pushing them to continue. Remember, exhaustion is a form of stress. And if a child is stressed, even if they can get through a game or a practice or whatever, they're not actually learning from it. They're using emergency energy to do it. They're on autopilot. So letting them take a break isn't going to negatively impact their performance or learning. If anything, it's likely to improve it. Now, I get that if you're in the middle of a session that you've paid for, that can feel really frustrating because we paid all kinds of money for these kids to do this cool thing and they enjoy the cool thing, but suddenly they don't want to do it anymore. What I recommend when that happens is just to take the pressure off for a week. Still go, especially if you're doing a team sport. You've committed to supporting your team, so go cheer them on. And bring their stuff, because they might change their mind once they get there. But go sit on the sidelines and observe. We've already talked about the benefits of observing, and that doesn't stop once they've already played or started dancing or doing gymnastics or whatever they're doing, playing an instrument. Observation is still valid and valuable. So go watch and then revisit it next week. If the next week they're insisting that they're done with this activity, explain that they made a commitment to show up for their team or their troop or their instructor for the next X number of weeks. So they don't have to participate, but they do have to keep coming and supporting the rest of their friends until the session is over. This should address the concerns for those of you who are worried that letting them quit will allow them to become serial quitters as soon as things get difficult. The nice thing is that, much like how I recommend observation generally leads to participation when they're starting an activity, once they've done that activity, observation usually leads to FOMO. They see their friends having fun, and after a week or two, they're ready to get back in there with them. And often, even without them realizing it, the observation gives them the space and time to figure out whatever it was that was causing them to find it extremely difficult to begin with and try again. While you're taking your break, try to give them opportunities to just play with the activity in question. I like to use my oldest son in swimming lessons as an example. My kids make very little progress while they're actually in swimming lessons. Generally in the fall, they start by flying through the first level that I've enrolled them in. The second level that they take in the winter, they pass, but usually by the skin of their teeth, just barely. And then the level that they're enrolled in the spring, they completely stall out at, they really struggle with it, and they don't pass it at all. And then we take a break for the summer, and all summer long, they just swim for fun. We're very, very lucky that we have a backyard pool. My parents have a pool. My husband's family has a lakefront cottage. They get tons of opportunities to swim over the summer and have fun with it. And then inevitably, fall comes, I enroll them in the level that they failed in the spring, and within a couple of weeks, the instructor comes to me and is like, they should have been enrolled in the next level up, so we're going to move them. And then they pass that level with flying colors, and the whole cycle repeats itself. Having that space to just play and enjoy it makes all the difference. Children learn best through play, genuine play, not gameplay. Play where they're trying out new things and being silly and testing their limits. That's where true growth happens. So if your child is fatiguing of an activity, it might just be that they need some space to actually play with it. So take the soccer ball to a field with some friends and have a pickup game. I don't know if my Canadian is showing here, but we call that playing shinny, when you get some people together and you play an informal game, usually hockey around here, shinny hockey. Have a dance party to some new music. Get them tumbling with their friends. Throw out the music books, maybe not throw them out, but put them away and let them just play with the piano or their violin or the drums. Play can result in some amazing gains. And then if they don't want to re-enroll next time, y'all, that's okay. They'll find something else. They're young, and the point of being so young is that they get to try a bunch of random stuff until you find something that you love and lights you up. And look at most of the adults you know. Activities aren't really about becoming the next Olympic champion for most kids. They're about the people you meet and the friendships you create. My best friend that I made going to Brownies or Sparks when I was a child is still my best friend today. We don't go camping or any of that stuff, but our friendship lasted. That goes for most adults. Most of us aren't living off of the skills we developed as kids, but many of us still do the same recreational activities we did as kids for fun and fitness. I used to dance as a child, and I miss it so much. One of the things I'm really looking forward to once my boys are back in school is having the house to myself so I can take some virtual dance classes again, maybe even hit up some Zumba. Not because I have aspirations of becoming a dancer in my mid-30s, but because I enjoyed it then and I made some really good friends through it. And I know I'd enjoy it now, and I'd like to make some friends now. There is value in trying something simply for the experience of hating it and crossing it off your list of things you like, and I think we would all do well to take that approach to children's activities. They aren't necessarily about finding what you love, but rather eliminating what you aren't into. So that's my take on it. I'm always looking for ways to reduce or eliminate stress because stress creates problems, behavior problems, emotional problems. All of that stuff that is difficult is related to stress. And if the notion that your child has to stick with a recreational activity that they aren't into anymore has you catastrophizing about what that means for their long-term success, then that's a pretty easy stressor to eliminate. Now, I'm sure there will be all kinds of questions about nuances that I haven't thought of, so if you'd like to chat more and get some input on whatever your specific situation is, please come join us in the Parenting Posse and we will either help you reframe it, troubleshoot it, eliminate your concerns, or find a different way to give your child a break and fall back in love with that thing. Having a posse of people who are all operating from the same perspective can really help us work through our thought process. And when you join, don't forget to drop your email address and the entrance questions so you can be sure to get your welcome packet as well. The link is in the description. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next week for another Uncommon Sense parenting class. Bye.